Scott, to you, should companies like Palantir be allowed to mine government data?
No. Well, look, I mean, they're part of sort of the tech industrial complex, right? The Silicon Valley version of the same old MIC, and they're a bunch of rent-seeking public-private partnership, lowercase f fascists, just like the rest of them. Really, the entire American telecommunications industry since World War II was built with the national government from the ground up. And then so that ended up being applied, of course, more broadly to the rest of the computer firms as well. As we saw in the Snowden leaks, right? There's no differentiation between the national government's integration with the telecoms versus their integration with Apple and Google and Amazon and all the various ecosystems of the internet and everyone's search data and emails and just as well as the location data on their phones and every other thing. So Palantir was created with money from the CIA in QTEL in the first place. And, they're huge government contractors in the first place. So I ought to read a few books about them. I don't know probably nearly as much as I should, but I know I don't trust them. And in fact, I'm afraid I didn't even read about this, but I did see the various headlines. I've been very busy lately, but they were talking about essentially letting them data mine all the different government databases so that they can kind of compile it all together, right? Update it all. But the thing is, 'cause that's one thing that's good about the government is how inefficient they are in monitoring us. I mean, the NSA and the CIA, have better tools and that kind of thing. But like overall, the government kind of sucks and they have all our records in all these different places. It's not much of a check or balance, but it means that if you end all that, which my understanding was they already had a long time ago with the main core database that already compiled all this stuff as of years ago, maybe more than a decade ago. But what they're talking about here is essentially just finding a way to essentially centralize everyone. It's like when I was a kid, we used to talk about your FBI file. Oh, my FBI file. Well, this is essentially having just an absolute file of all the government's different data about you in one place. So, the ultimate of this would be you get pulled over for speeding, and then they know that you supposedly owe the IRS money, or they know that, of every warrant that you have in every state, or the state of whatever investigation into you. We end up essentially with, through tech, we end up with a national police force that we never agreed to in defiance of our constitutional order.